So my name is Tara, and I'm a nurse and the executive director at Connect Medical Clinic. And I am here with Analena, and she is going to talk to us about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month taking place here in February. Analena, how about you introduce yourself and tell us how you came into this field and what you are doing now, and then walk us through what teen dating violence looks like, because it's not just physical.
Right. We're using this hashtag that they're using statewide and nationwide. So my name is Analena Lunde. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. I got into nursing I always tell people through the back door. Before that, I was a business lady and went to the dark side, as some say, and got into nursing and never looked back. And I love it. Right now, I'm teaching nursing online. I'm an instructor, a professor with Fortis, and I also am a human trafficking navigator for the North Dakota Human Trafficking Task Force and for YouthWorks. And I fell into this job and have loved it. I continue to be a forensic nurse here in the state. I work for the Central Dakota Forensic Nurse Examiners. And most of my life as a nurse, as a critical care nurse, ER nurse, I flew in helicopters and fixed wings. So that's a fun factoid of me. But I've been in North Dakota now for 6 years. It's home. And I'm super excited to be a member of this state and this community because they're so proactive when it comes to things like teen dating violence and sexual assault and domestic violence. It's one of those subjects that we just don't like to talk about. And who would think it would happen in our backyard? I thank you for having this opportunity to just share some of the statistics and information that I've kind of found out there on teen dating violence. Be helpful for professionals and also for families and youth that may be experiencing that too.
Yeah. I think it's great that you're here, and I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Great. And I know we had some sound bites. I'm going to share my screen. Some sound bites that were pretty great. That kind of highlighted what we are going to talk about. And what is really cool, this hashtag is not one I invented, but it's, hashtag not just physical, because what we see now is that violence takes on two forms, the bruising and everything we see on the outside, but it's all about psychological coercion and power and mind control. And so I put together this slide with some references from nationwide statistics and also from some evidence-based information. But what I thought was real interesting, that 1 in 3 adolescents experience some form of dating violence before the 18. I mean, did you know that? That's just alarming. And again, statistics is always whatever's reported, but still, one is too many. One is too many.
I would say in the teens that we see here at Connect, it's a lot larger than that, there's some aspect of coercion or just not being able to say no, or have any sort of say in the relationship, probably in most of the relationships that we talk about here.
Absolutely. And I think just, this presentation, your campaign that you're doing along, asking all of the communities, our community resources here, we all care. And it takes wraparound services like this one to kind of, get the awareness out. Everything, it's all about, I'm going to use my nurse hat for primary prevention, right? Is education and awareness and how we can all make a difference in the community. So when you look at dating abuse, and we kind of talked about it, in our sound bites and preview to this, is that, again, it's all about, it's verbal, it's physical, it's emotional. Now we see the use of technology, intimidation, isolation, all these things contribute to what a dating abuse can look like. It happens to anybody. It's non-discriminatory, unfortunately, and all age groups. But with our teens, it's always hard because we're always looking for love, right? We're always looking for love. And why is it so common? That was shocking to me. Teens have such unique challenges. When you and I were teenagers just about a year ago, right? It was hard, right? It was hard, but it's not always recognizing the behaviors and misinterpreting love. Like, I think I fell in love every time I met somebody. They'd say the right thing. When you peel back that layer, Maybe there was some sort of abuse that they were exposed to. Maybe they came from a broken family. Maybe they're trying to replace the love of a father, a love of a mother, an adult. And then teens see violence on media. Social media is great. TV movies are great, but sometimes don't you think it's almost glamorized?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I feel like we could name
Hmm.
several very popular blockbuster books and movies that glamorize, like, if you love him, he who abuses you well enough, you will change him, which is
Oh,
absolute garbage.
yeah, garbage, right? We're being politically correct.
Yeah.
It's almost predatorial. It's, and they know, unfortunately, someone who is abusive or has those abusive tendencies, or we get into those relationships, peer pressure, low self-esteem, self-image, maybe not having the greatest home life and trying to find that substitution elsewhere. But the big one too that we see, and probably you see too, is not knowing who to go to when you think you're in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And fear and shame and guilt is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the different kinds of dating abuse or abuse, there's the physical, right? And you'll see the signs. Some of them are unrecognizable too, because it's not like just bruising. Breaking stuff, throwing things at you, maybe even using a weapon as an aid to kind of make you feel like I've got the control, physically doing things to block you to get out, not letting you call for help, um, and then pushing, shoving, biting, those kind of things. I think one of the hardest ones, is that verbal, emotional, and psychological abuse. And the list that I show you here, I bet you it's not exhaustive. And that's kill. That is the hardest one to get past. And sometimes that Stockholm syndrome, going back to your abuser because there's a fear of, I've seen them in the good, I've seen their good spots. They love me. Maybe I deserve this. If I leave him, I'm going to feel guilty about my decision. Um, you know, Maybe saying, well, this is your fault. I wasn't like this before. Just thinking of all, the clients I've had before, patients I've had, constantly being checked upon could be seen as, oh, he loves me. He wants to make sure I'm okay, but it actually is crossing the line, the boundary.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything else that you've seen or can comment?
Just along that same vein, like if you, patient, the girl, or I mean, it's often girls. I know it happens to both sexes, and in same-sex relationships, I see it most often in females, that if the girl would just behave better, it's her fault that the abuse happened because she provoked or she knew better. There's a lot of blame shifting. And then I believe that falls into the gaslighting too, that
totally. Yeah. Totally. And I'm so glad you mentioned this happens to boys and girls.
Yes.
And also we can't forget our vulnerable population, the LGBTQ.
Yeah.
So again, gaslighting is just another one of those that I just recently have become more aware of. Even things like, and I think of my husband, I'm not saying he's doing any of that, but he's like, I don't like that. You don't like what you're wearing. I think he's saying that to me, to make sure that, maybe it's too tight, but, constantly controlling everything that you do. I like you better in this. So that's very subtle, and it just over time, it just gets more forceful and more of a coercion, a psychological, like, ooh, I can make her do this. I can basically make this perfect person be in my mold, and I'm going to control them.
Well, they do like the intermittent, like, reinforcement. So like hurt, but then come along with the flowers and candy and I love you. And even to be, to go there, to have like very intense sexual experiences following abuse that just reinforce that they can be good, they can be better. It just depends on the person's like willingness to comply, and then they get rewarded for complying.
Absolutely. You know, it could be threatening, like it says here, sext me or else, or text me or else, or you know what? Hey, sweetheart, don't you trust me? I've always been here for you. You know, your home life wasn't the greatest. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Another form of dating abuse is isolation and intimidation, and many of us don't think about that. Isolation is a very common tactic. We see that with our youth and adults who have been uh, trafficked or who've been sexually assaulted or in domestic violence. We live in a rural area, so isolation. I've learned about that. You know, sometimes taking the car away from them so they can't go into town.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, not letting them see their family or friends, or saying things like, you know, they weren't there for you. So why should we? Just isolating, moving you far away from your support system.
Yeah.
And the big one, well, don't you want to spend time with me?
Yeah. That's
Love
the
you.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah. You.
What about me? And I mean, I even tell my kids, which they love it when I bring them up in these things. But if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend who's like, I don't really want to hang out with your family, let's just do it, something with us. Like that's a red flag. That's not
Oh,
a good thing, kids.
absolutely, absolutely. And then intimidation is, you know, again, making you afraid so that you can become dependent on that person
Yeah.
and not have to seek outside help. And again, they do it with like things that I mentioned before, threatening to leave, displaying weapons, just again, very tactic, you know, very these tactics of just enough to cross that boundary that I'm going to hurt you physically with this, but just, you know, if you do this, you know, this could happen, you know, it's just, they kind of make it seem like, let's do this. Like, it's a win-win with both of us, baby, sweetheart.
Yeah.
At the same time, they're putting their control in force.
Yeah.
Another one that I found was stalking. And, you know, back in the day when we had a ton of technology, it was like more like, you know, watching you know, following that person, being followed by a stranger. But stalking can also be over email. It could be over Facebook. It could be over any of these apps. Constantly calling or texting. So I'm applying a bit of that technology now to
Mm-hmm.
make it more, you know, calling we've had cases where they're calling your boss, they're calling their boss or their coworkers to find out, you know, if you showed up to work, standing outside of work, making sure that you are at work,
Hmm.
just, and then all these, you know, just showing up out of the blue. We've seen that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Teens are raped by people who know or are known by their strangers. We bold that. We see that law enforcement, domestic violence. I'm sure, has seen that too. Sexual abuse, physically forcing you to have sex. You're going to do this because, you know, you love him, you know, girlfriends, peer to peer bullying, and that kind of stuff. Unwanted kissing or touching, not letting you use birth control, or getting tested, or maybe they have a disease, a sexually transmitted disease, and don't tell you. And then of course using drugs and alcohol to kind of making, you know, numbing your senses so that you're able to be passed around and have sex, and that's hard. And then also forcing them to have sex with others or watching pornography. It's just, when I read this and when I talk about it, it just makes me sad, you know.
Yeah.
There's so many
So,
different ways.
to be very clear, if a girl or a guy is insisting or wants to wear a condom and the partner says no, you can't, and they win, I mean, how do you determine when that's abuse and when that's just compromise?
Parent consent. No is no.
Yep.
No is no. You
Yep.
don't get, there's a great video out there, YouTube, that I tell all my parents and all the teachers and all the students, and even with my nieces and nephews, it's like the tea consent. Consent is like a cup of tea. If you want a cup of tea, and you say you want a cup of tea, then, you know, give them a cup of tea. But if they said they wanted a cup of tea last week and they don't want one now, you're not going to force it down their throat. And if they're unconscious and they had said they wanted a cup of tea before they became unconscious, don't force it down the throat. So
Yeah.
no is no.
It's
No is
just that simple. Yep. We get
yeah.
that a lot. We get, but he won't wear a condom. So, well, so then don't have sex. Well, I can't not have sex. Like I have to, or he'll be mad. So just people putting themselves at risk for
Oh,
STDs, for an unplanned pregnancy. We see that so often.
And it's hard, establishing those boundaries because, like you said, they're forcing me now that there's your red flags. Like that's the key of the abusive relationship because it's all about communication, and all that. So, yeah, I mean, that's creating that safety plan, as you said. Technology, I love it. Sometimes I just don't. Unfortunately, that's a presentation in itself. Sending me messages all in caps, pictures, blackmail, sextortion, using harmful images to cause harm, for coercion, threatening, tagging you in memes, private photos. Technology, a lot of our clients, youth and adults, don't realize that even though it's a race, it's out there. There's a digital imprint, harassing. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And some of these, giving somebody your password to your phone, those kind of that trust issues.
Yeah.
Some interesting statistics that I pulled off of the websites on teen dating and violence and national statistics on violence is 92% of teens report going online daily, including 24% who say they are online almost constantly. I want to say always on. When you go to the restaurant, just look around. Look around. 10% of teens claim that they have been threatened physically by email, text, or chat. And Thorn, there's a great organization for youth and for parents and for providers like us. Thorn.org is a great resource just when it comes to technology stuff. It was actually formed, this organization came about by Ashton Kutcher, who's some people know who he is, some people don't. Ashton Kutcher, Thorn.org. Fabulous materials, resources you can download to share how to talk to your youth about technology, how to not be afraid about technology, and how to establish boundaries and talk about it. 1 in 3 teens say that they've been text messaged 10 to 30 times an hour by a partner.
Wow.
I mean, again, these numbers are just pretty much, these slides pretty much say it. And then using the cell phone and text messages to spread rumors. Yeah, I think this number is higher. It'd be interesting to see after COVID, how these numbers will change.
Yeah.
Again, 1 in 6 teens have been in a relationship where their partner has bought a cell phone or minutes for them. So they're, again, that power control. Well, I've got you your phone. I got your minutes. And now you're going to do something for me.
Now you owe me. Yeah.
You owe me. So, what should you do? And we kind of talked about it in some of our sound bites. I mean, there is a national support. There is local support to get out of a relationship is just talking to somebody. One trusted adult, one trusted friend, even nurses. I mean, I'm going to plug into our profession, Tara. We're the most trusted organization in the whole wide world. And that's power right there. Nurses, our big thing is about safety, your mental, physical, everything safety. There's always that one nurse that you can come into, especially, I mean, I send all my clients just to Connect Medical for follow-up. I'm not saying that just to say it. I mean, a nurse, this is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
But if you want to end abusive relationships, that's not pretty for finding that person that you can trust. And then
Analena, we're losing your sound a little bit.
Me now?
Just go ahead, talk.
Yep.
There you are. Perfect.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yep.
And the beauty of technology when everybody's on internet.
Yep.
And then calling the police too. The police. Our detectives here, I can say in North Dakota, are trained in trauma and know that too.
So that was a question I had. If a woman or a man feels like they are being emotionally abused, is that an appropriate call 911?
Absolutely. Any form of abuse. Any of the ones that I mentioned. Absolutely. So here's some of the resources, and I'll share these, and Tara will have these too, and Connect Medical. There's the National Dating Abuse Hotline. So they actually have an abuse, something when it relates to dating specific. It's 24 hours for everyone. And there's always a human that will answer. This is a great, and even family parents can call this number if there's any concern. They'll hook you up to some great resources and support, and they'll keep you on that phone if you're in danger. Yeah. Here in North Dakota, we have the North Dakota Council on Abused Women's Services. They're out of Bismarck. Again, lots of information. They train all of our advocates here in North Dakota. They are all about promoting healthy relationships and nonviolence. Again, their website is fabulous too. And again, someone's always there to answer. Connect Medical. Love me some. You could just say Connect Medical or your plug, but I love the fact that they empower our youth who are feeling so, or our adults who are feeling like this, to just take control of their life. I don't know if you want to say anything else.
And I'll say it again too for those who maybe didn't see the little smaller videos we did, that if you need discernment, if you need a nurse to talk to about whether or not what you are experiencing is abusive, you can make an appointment for a pregnancy test or an STD test. You may need those things, but we also take appointments for sexual health education. So if you call and make an appointment for that, we'll just have you come in and you can tell us what it is you have questions about. So a sexual health education appointment at Connect Medical Clinic.
Love it. Love it. The Domestic Violence, Rape, and Crisis Shelter here in Dickinson, they support all of our counties here, our 8 surrounding counties. They have 24-hour crisis support. They're always, again, another human will always answer. That human connection is always there with all these resources. And I'm telling you, and Tara knows these too. Again, advocacy, public education, we all work together. The Central Dakota Forensic Nurse Examiner. So we are the ones who perform the sexual assault exam. If there's a forensic piece to it, working with law enforcement, we also support all these agencies that I'm mentioning here that are local. They're all nurses, and that's where our healing begins. We start, navigating the unfortunate experience, and you don't always have to report to law enforcement. We encourage it. But everything is protected and safe and non-shaming and non-judgmental. Mm-hmm. YouthWorks, I also work for YouthWorks. And YouthWorks has a victim of crime specialist advocate here in Dickinson. They're out of our main headquarters is out of Bismarck and Fargo. They have specialized trained specialists who can talk to you and provide that mentorship, that advocacy, that support you need. And they service youth and young adults up to the age of 24. And so it's, again, I'm going to plug in a #OneAdult. You have an adult there that cares. Sometimes we're just adjuncts to what is already in the community. We have so many resources here in Dickinson, which I love. Very proud to be a part of this community.
Yeah. Me too. Well, it's a sobering subject, but I hope that talking about it helps girls and boys in those relationships talk about it too. I love the #OneAdult. I love the #NotJustPhysical. And the other hashtag I've seen on this is #KnowYourWorth. Teens and adults, just anyone who may be watching this, know your worth. You are worthy of a relationship that is full of love and respect and support and mutuality and trust and reciprocity and healthy communication, something that makes you feel lifted up and not tore down, something that makes you feel like an equal and not a servant or a subject to. You don't owe anyone anything in a relationship. That's not love. So just want to make that plug, make that real clear that we want to empower you to know your worth.
I love it. Yeah, you're not alone, people. And there is a huge community here that truly can just let us do the work. Let us do the work for you as you heal.
I like that too. #let us do the work as you heal. Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And Analena, thank you for all of your knowledge. And thanks again from Connect Medical Clinic.
Thank you.